This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Modeling from the Ensign's Chair is proud to partner with Models for Troops, a 501c3 charity that provides model kits, model supplies, and scale model literature to aid disabled and injured veterans suffering from PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and other post-combat related issues. Please visit www.modelsfortroops.com for more information and to find out ways you can contribute, because a model is more than just plastic.
Hey, what's up guys? Will here. Welcome to Modeling from the Ensign's Chair. This is episode 9 of the 1/1400 scale Enterprise C build. In this episode today, we're going to finish up the pylon wing / nacelle assembly. I've got that all done here. It's all painted up and all the painting is done on it. Now all that's left to do is the decals. I do have to add the phaser strips on the side here, but for the most part it's pretty much done. So we'll take a look at finishing this up because I'm doing this after the fact. So we'll finish this up on this episode, and that'll be done, just waiting for the secondary hull to be done. And then we'll talk about this saucer section here. If I can get it in the light properly. But you can see how that's all lit up on the underside as well. We got those lights on there, so it's all done, good to go. We're going to talk about how I got this done and what I did to it, and how all the lighting and the electronics that went into it. It's not a whole lot, so this shouldn't be too long of an episode. The lighting on the saucer on this is pretty simple because there's not a lot of flashing lights, and there's just the one blinking or flashing strobe, and that's it. Everything else is a steady on light, so there's not a whole bunch of different circuits to run. There's really only 2 to run, one for the flash and strobe and then one for the steady on lights. So it's a real simple setup. So give me a minute, I'll put you on the bench, we'll get to work. All right, so before we get into the sauce, let's take a look at what we got here. Let me go ahead and plug this in. You can see what the lighting looks like. So you can see everything's lit up. I've got the I'm going to go into detail about the saucer, don't worry, but you can see what the final result is here on the saucer. Let me turn this light off. But you can see all that lighting. One thing I'm noticing though, looking at these, I had to change to, I used up the last of the SMDs that I had on the starboard nacelle. And you can tell that the new SMDs I went to are a little bit brighter than the old ones, so I'm not too happy about that. I think the real issue here is that the diode's a little bit bigger, so it puts out just a little more light than these SMDs. It's just something I'm going to have to do. Now it's not as bad as looking at the viewfinder. It's not as bad as the camera makes it look out. The camera overexposes it a lot more than what it is. So it's not as bad as it's looking on camera, but it is noticeably brighter than the 2 older SMDs that I had. So when I did the front here, I actually had to step up the ohms on the SMDs because obviously, like I said, they're a little bit brighter than the old ones were. So the old ones I was using 1,000. These ones here I used 1,000, and you can tell the difference. These are a little bit brighter. So on the front here, I actually stepped these up to a 4.7K or 4,700 ohm resistor for all these ones on the front saucer here. So, but we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Before we get into the saucer, let's take a look at what I've done here on the back section here. And let me unplug this because I've got bare wires, so I don't want to move this around too much while it's plugged in. So finish up the back section here, got the nacelles mounted, and you can see the result of that. Everything's in place. All the wires are running out the front. You can see that that copper on the nacelle grills there, and obviously I just lightly dusted. I think I went over this in the last video. I lightly coated those grills with my airbrush with the copper until I got a nice even coat, and then I stopped. As soon as I got a nice even coat, I stopped, and you can see the light shines through it just fine. I'll plug it in again real quick. You can see the light shines through these just fine. Maybe I'll plug it in again. If you just do a light coating on it. So they turned out real nice. I did get those extra details painted on the back here. And you can see I did remove that support back here, but there is a little bit where I nicked the inside of the chiller grill. So best thing to do, like I did on this side, is just remove them before you before you assemble it. So this one's good. This one I did nick the inside a little bit, so you can see a little bit of deformation on the inside, but it's okay. It's better than when the locator pin was there. You can see that light. I've got SMD I embedded on the back here where that Enterprise is going to go. So that's going to look nice. And I didn't do the Rayathon on the sides here because I was thinking I wasn't going to use the decals, but in actuality, after thinking about it, I am going to use those decals because they were on the studio model here. So I am going to use those decals on the side here. I still got some painting to do on this. I've got to touch up where I did the seam work on this one on both sides. I've got to redo that. And one thing I did here, when I painted these bands, initially I painted them with this antique gold because it looked, in the bottle, it looked darker than this one I ended up using, but when it dries, this dries brighter. So what I ended up doing was going back and repainting it with this golden ochre from Folk Art. And I repainted it with that. I came back over it with a light dusting of my what's this one? Yeah, my Tamiya Clear Orange, which is an X26, because these are supposed to have a slight orange hue to them. Now, I don't know. On the Yamaguchi model, they have a slight orange hue, but when I look at the photos of the Enterprise C, they look more yellowish to me. So it's up to you what you do there. It's really hard to go by photos and tell. So I just went ahead and just did them with a slight orange hue to it. So I did it. I painted them with this, came over with a little bit of that Tamiya Clear Orange, and then used a brush and did a dry brush over this with the golden ochre just to tone it down a little bit. Because I didn't like how glossy it was and how it was just a little bit too orange to me. So I came back over it with that. So I got to do that on this one here yet. And one thing I did on the front here, on these domes on the front, was I painted these blue around this band here. And what I'm going to have to do, looking at the studio photos, this first probably, I don't know, maybe 2-3 millimeters at the most front edge of the nacelle needs to be blue as well, so it kind of blends this in. So I'm about to do that, but I'm gonna wait until I get this side caught up, and then I'll just do both front ends with the blue at the same time. Now, I'm sorry I don't have it sitting right in front of me. Now, the comment was made about sanding the LEDs for these buzzards to kind of help diffuse the light. Now, you don't really need to do that with the parts from Lake Monster Details because they're thick. They are, unlike the, let me pull this off again. Unlike the part that comes with the kit, which is clear and hollow, these are a solid piece. So they diffuse the light a little bit better. The only thing I did do was I took a little bit of 800 grit sandpaper and I did sand the inside here. this flat part here, just to kind of diffuse a little bit. And it did make a difference. It does help the light spread out a bit more. You can, and I do recommend if you're using the kit part, sand at least the tip of your LED. You can sand the whole thing if you want, but mainly the tip, because that's where most of your brightness comes from. But you can sand that a little bit with some 800 grit sandpaper, and you're probably also going to want to, I haven't done these, so I don't know how it would look. I know on the NX model I sanded the outside with 800 grit sandpaper and then painted the inside with the reddish color. So that's probably what I would try with this. I haven't done it to see how it looks, so you would have to try that and, you know, see if you like how it turns out. But I'm thinking you probably sand the outside of this to help with diffusion with some 800 grit sandpaper, and then paint the inside with some clear red if you're going to use the kit parts. So but at any rate, I like the way these turned out. They definitely disperse the light, or diffuse the light, better than the kit part, I think. So I got to, like I said, I got to do a little bit of painting on the front end here. I did get those extra details painted on the back end here, and then I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but let me see if I can focus in on this a little bit. Let's try this. I think you can see that detail on the back end. I've got a little bit of a spot there I'm going to have to touch up. But you see that detail on the back end here where I painted those little, what we're calling these, I don't know, trapezoid shapes or whatever they are. So I got those done. So all that is good to go. I've got to paint the transporter emitters. Oh, let me get back in focus. I do have to paint the transporter emitter pads. I kind of wish these were part of the decal set, but they're not. Maybe that's something I get Gus to do later, is kind of add some transporter emitter pads. But the problem with that is I think these are molded slightly different shapes. I'm not sure, because the only transporter emitters on this model are the ones in the back here, and that's it. They did add more later when they redid the model to make it the Yamaguchi, but those are only transporter emitters. There's some additional ones added on the top here later on, but other than that, I think that's it. It's just those two. So definitely not enough transporter emitter pads. But anyway, I'm gonna paint these the same golden ochre color, and I was going to use the decals, the additional decals Gus provides for the lifeboats, but I've decided I'm going to leave these alone because I like the way this looks closer to the studio model. The decals would be a great improvement, and they would add a lot more detail, but it's detail that wasn't on the studio model. So for this one, I think I'm going to leave alone. Now the Yamaguchi, when I go to do that, it's going to be great having those, because you basically got to take these little, I don't know if these are supposed to be lifeboats or what, they're very small, but these little ones here actually drop down to the lower deck. So you need to sand these off and then relocate these. So it'd be a lot easier to do that with the decals that Gus provides than to sit there and maybe have to cut out small pieces of styrene or that, which you could do. But and I think for the later model, as far as the Yamaguchi or that, I think these were the same, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and use those escape pod decals that Gus provides to add a little more detail to it. So I think I'm going to do that when I do the Yamaguchi. But for the Enterprise C, I want to kind of keep this as close as possible to that studio model look. And on the studio model, they were just painted white. That's it. So I painted all the lifeboats the same fog gray that I used on the lighter color areas. So that's what I'm doing with that. Now, one other thing I'm going to mention about this before we get into the lighting is, or two other things actually, because it has to do with the painting that we already started. This area back here. Now, I hadn't been able to find a picture of this intact on the Enterprise C model until now. I finally found a picture that shows this on the Enterprise C model, and let me pull that up. One second. Let's see. Get through my computer here. Give me a second. Because what I originally thought was that the way it is on the model is the way it was on the Enterprise C, but as it turns out, that's not correct. Oh, here we go. So I'll show you this picture. But so you look at that back area, you can see that those gray, I don't know if those are vents or what, but those kind of, because I'm going to paint these fog gray the same, that's what it looks like they are. It's kind of hard to tell in that picture, but at any rate, you can see that it's nothing but vents, those square or rectangular shaped vents on the back deck there. So this part on the model itself here isn't correct, but I don't have any way to accurize that. I know that Cass over Lake Monster Details was talking to me about possibly coming out with some more accurizing parts for this model, because obviously this is different on the Enterprise C. So, but anyway, I'm gonna have to go with what's on the model. I don't want to go through the trouble of I basically have to sand this blank and then create these vents, and I don't want to go through all that. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave it as it is on this model, and maybe somewhere down the road, you know, I'll talk to Cass some and see if he's interested in maybe coming up with an accurizing part for that, or basically you could cut this part out, this wedge shape here, cut it out, and then maybe replace it just like you do with the bridge on the 537 refit or anything. You just cut this part out and then replace it, which would be more accurate anyway, because this part was removable on the studio model. So I don't know, we'll see. I'll talk to Cass about, see if he wants to, if he's still interested in trying to develop maybe some accurizing parts for this model. Hopefully they'll be doing a re-release of this here at some point, and it'll be worth his while. So at any rate, that part, I just wanted to mention that I did finally find a photo showing that on the Enterprise C studio model. So I'm just going to have to go with what that is for right now, and maybe somewhere down the road, if Cass does come out with a part, it wouldn't be too much trouble to cut that out and replace it with an aftermarket kit part. So the only thing I want to point out before we talk about the lighting is on the bottom here. So so we did the paint guide, the one from Lou's Aztec dummy set. Now this is correct for the Yamaguchi and all those following after the model was redone, but the only thing missing from this for the Enterprise C is, and I'll show you another picture here. I know, lots of pictures. Hang on. Find this one. All right, so looking at the underside, you'll notice where the dome is on the bottom. That's supposed to be blue. And I'm gonna have to make a mask, my own mask for that, or just tape around it, one or the other. But basically, when you look at it, so this part here is your lower dome. And right now I'm trying to find what I do with my clear part. I hope I can find it, because it's not gonna be good if I can't find that clear part that goes in here. But basically this lower dome part here needs to be, when I look at the picture, it looks like it's the darker blue to me, because you can tell that most inner light blue ring doesn't match up to that color. So I think this is the darker blue. And not only does this lower sensor dome itself need to be darker blue, but this first inner ring, if you look at the picture of the studio model, this first inner ring also needs to be blue. So I'm gonna have to change that and just add, I mean, it's easy to do. I'll just mask this off, this outer ring off, and paint that blue. And then, I could paint the lower sensor dome separately blue. I've got to light block it, of course, because you can see where that light's still coming through, because I haven't done anything with it yet. So I'll get that done. I'm going to light block that, paint that blue. I'll paint this blue, and we'll come back and take a look at it. So give me a minute. I'm going to do that. We'll come back, take a look at it, and we'll start taking a look at lighting this thing up, or how I did it. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm done painting. Everything's painted now and sealed up on the pylon slash nacelle assembly here, and it turned out pretty good. I really like the way it turned out. I've got these bands here painted, and everything in the back is painted up. I did put the Enterprise decal here just to see how it lights up. I did try to show it in the camera to see how it would show up. It doesn't show up too well in the camera. It kind of washes it out because of that light. It over intensifies the light and it looks washed out. So it doesn't show up too good on camera, but we'll see when I take pictures of it later how it turns out. But other than that, I mean, she's all painted up. She looks good, ready to go. I did finalize the attachment of the nacelles, or the bustards here. I painted the just the last probably 1 to 2 millimeters of the front edge of the nacelles. That darker blue is what these get painted. So those are painted, and that assembly's done, and she'll be waiting for me to do the secondary haul. So give me a minute. I'll get the saucer down here and we will take a look at and talk about how to get that lit up. All right, so you can see I've got this this all lit up. I've got my nav lights and my strobe back here flashing, and all my internal lights are lit up. So turned out really nice. And on this side again, you've got the nav lights all set up. I've went ahead and I've taken care of painting this center section, getting that glued in place and light blocked, and now all I've got to do is find my clear globe. I think it's in my parts box floating around there separately, because I did pull it off the parts tree at one time. But I'll find that and get that put in place, and then that'll be good to go. Still got to do some seam work around the edges here, but of course I've got to get this glued together. So let's crack this open and we'll take a look at what I did here. Well, let me unplug this, because otherwise these lights are going to blind you. All right, so on the bottom here is real simple. And the bottom was just the 3 SMDs that I put in place. I drilled the 1 30-seconds hole and slid them down in place just like I did with the nacelles, and ran them all, wired them all together. And you can see I've got the 3. They're each resistored individually here, back here at the back. And those are all, what I ended up using for those was the 4.7K or 4,700 or it'll say 4K7 on mine is what it says. But so I used the 4,700 ohm resistor to bring those down some. Same thing with the top here. The top, I've got again those 3 SMDs. You're going to need a red, a green, and a white for each one, top and bottom. And I've got the resistors back here, 3 of them, same. So I wired, first thing I did was wire all the SMDs together and run them back up here and get them wired in. And then I wired in the strobe SMD underneath here. And of course that's on a separate circuit, because that's got to run to the board. At least the ground wire off it has to run to the board. And that also is a, that one I only did a 1,000 ohm resistor on to keep it with the other strobes on the back of the nacelles. So then I came in and I ran this light. Now I did put out a picture earlier before where I was showing where I had done these light strips, and it was just way too bright on the inside here. So what I did was I ended up cutting this literally down about in half, because if we call each 3 diode LED strip one strip, then that I basically had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these here, plus this one in the middle was 9, and it was just way too bright inside. So what I ended up doing was pulling that out. I cut these down. Now I've only got 1, 2, 3, and then this 4th one in the middle to light the center part, and also this lower sensor dome once I get that in place. So these definitely light up really nice, especially with that gloss white paint on the inside. It really bounces the light around, and I really didn't need that many LED strips, it turns out. So worked really well with this. So that's really all you need. It just basically takes your 3 SMDs, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these LED strips, and then you got the 1 SMD underneath here for the blinking strobe, and that's it. That's all it takes to light this up. And then, like I said, for the SMDs or the nav light SMDs, I use the 4.7 or 4K 4,700 ohm resistor for those, and for the blinking or strobe under here I used a 1,000 ohm resistor. So, and of course the LED strips you don't have to resistor because they got resistors built in. So that's it, guys. That's all I really had to do with this. It was real simple. Not a whole lot to it because the navs on the Enterprise C don't blink. They're static on, they're steady on. So I just wired those in together with the LED strips since they stay on, and joined all that wiring together back here at the back. And then all I had to do was join the lower SMDs for the nav lights on the bottom together with that, and that's what you see here. And that was it. That's all I needed. So everything's all wired together in there, and that's all that needs to be done with it. So basically all I've got left to do on this now is now that I've got this all wired up and lit up, I can seal it up now and finish that seam work on it, and that'll be it. So let me turn this light off so you can get a better look at it, but she lights up real nice with just that little bit of light. I was really surprised. It only took three light strips for the main light and then the one in the middle to kind of help even it out. So worked out really well. But at any rate, I mean, that's pretty much it for lighting the saucer. There's not a whole lot to it. It's pretty simple lighting. So at any rate, what I'm working on now for the next episode is I'm working on my nav dish, my deflector dish for the front there, working on getting that lit up properly, and I've already painted it with my Tamiya clear blue. So I'm working on that, and this is the kit provided one. We'll talk about those next episode, and hopefully I'll start working on, I'll get this sealed up, I'll start working on decals on this and on the wing pylon slash nacelle assembly. I'll work on getting the decals put on that too, and I'll also work on finally getting the two halves of the secondary hull together. So I got to get those together, and I've also got to work on this part back here, which I've got primed and ready to go, but I've got some windows. I didn't even realize there were windows on this back part, so I got windows I've got to drill out back here and fill in and get that all done and get this glued together, and then everything will just go together, should go together pretty easily. So at any rate, that's about it, guys. Pretty simple episode this week, and like I said, hopefully next week I'll have that deflector dish done and I'll be ready to start putting that secondary hull together, and we'll come back and take a look at it. But at any rate, again, thank you everybody that's been subscribing. Please hit that subscribe button below. If you don't want to subscribe, please just hit that like button below. Let me know how I'm doing. Leave a comment maybe. And I appreciate all the questions that I've been getting. I've been getting a couple emails here and there from people asking questions. And please hit me up if you got any questions about anything. I am going to work on getting this back panel painted as well on here, and we'll have that ready to go. So at any rate, guys, again, thank you for watching. Until next time, keep modeling.